I'm Ben Sebastian here with my co-host Essay Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 10 Episode 21 interview. We'll be talking with Mo Fanning, that's right, a returning champion, and discussing his latest novel, Rainbows and Lollipops. So, if you didn't see his first episode, let me introduce you to Mo Fanning. He's a Birmingham-based novelist whose character-driven fiction explores the complexities of love, identity, and human connection through the lens of the LGBTQ plus experiences. With his signature blend of humor, heartbreak, and hope, Fanning creates a deeply relatable character whose journey reflects the universal search for belonging in an often challenging world. Drawing inspiration from his Midland roots, Fanning infuses his writing with authentic voices and settings that resonate with readers, seeking stories that celebrate the beauty of imperfection and the transformative power of resilience. His innovative narrative approaches and genuine emotional depth have earned him a dedicated following among readers who appreciate contemporary fiction that balances entertainment with meaningful exploration of human relationships. When not writing, Mo lives with his husband Mark and their beloved Labrador Ernie, continuing to find inspiration in the streets, stories, and people of his beloved Birmingham. Mo, welcome back to the show.
Hello, and that's very much written by a publicist, isn't it?
Can you tell?
Kind of waffle. Yeah.
You know what? It had all the information we needed to get started, though.
There you go.
So you're surrounded by people in a beautiful countryside, but putting that pen to paper is a lonely craft. For folks who didn't hear that first episode, can you give us a quick why did you decide to write?
I originally started writing. I kind of like always thought I wanted to, and never really got round to because I was just like I'd start and then stop. It came from reading books by Marion Keyes and thinking, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And then I was looking around afterwards trying to find something else. I'd read all of the books. I thought, what else can I read? And then I realized not a lot. There wasn't an awful lot out there that was similar. So I thought, I know, why don't I just write the kind of book I'd like to read?
Yes,
And
I
that's
love
how
that.
it started.
Love it. So you've got a new novel to share with us,
I
Rainbows and
have,
Lollipops. Do you want to show off that
yeah,
beautiful cover?
I will do. It's actually behind me as well.
Oh yeah, there it is on the wall. Sweet.
Yeah.
So if I were to say come to Birmingham Pride and see you at a table with a stack of your books in front of you, and I were to say, "Oh my God, what's this about?" What would you tell me?
It's a real Birmingham book. It's um it's probably more of a political book than I've ever written before. And when I started writing this one, I kind of wanted to write a political book about what was going on in the world, about the rise of right-wing politics and populist politics. But then I thought, well, it's probably not the most appetizing dish to serve. So I wanted to find a different way into it because I thought, if I read a book was quite political, I'd probably go, I like the author, but I'm not going to read that one. So I kind of thought I wanted to take a more, I suppose, soapy way into it. Where we always say about soaps, they're hatches, matches, and dispatches. It's like births, people falling in love, matching, and dispatches dead. And I chose to use death as my way in because I also, I post COVID, I dealt with the death of my mother just before COVID, which was kind of a blessing. She didn't have to go through it, and neither did I. And I wasn't sure I'd really dealt with grief. And that was another thing that I wanted to deal with in this book. And so I thought, okay, that's kind of a way in. And then the third thing that I wanted to speak about was how we have found family, particularly LGBTQ people.
Hmm.
We kind of form these bonds where there are people that you might just have met in a bar. You might just met through a friend of a friend of a friend of, you might even have met them online, whatever. But we kind of form our own families, and they're like people that you don't even realize when you're first meeting them and even when you're still friends, but they kind of have become your family. You have people that in some ways you're closer to, perhaps because you've picked out those people, because they always say you can pick your friends but never your family, and that's probably a good thing. And so it was the three things I wanted to speak about. It was things like that that kind of allowed me to sneak all the political thought in at the back door, and I think it works.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope it does.
Yeah. So let's dissect those three pillars, starting with the first one, the political. And for American audiences, I know we are very focused on what's going on in
Mm,
our nation. The UK, especially in 2024, I know Americans heard Brexit and they had a vague idea of what it was about. They didn't
yeah,
realize all of the other civil rights issues that were going on. So, Mo, if you want to drop some of the
yeah,
backdrop that made it into
And
your novel to shape this.
yeah, and what I really wanted to do was make this very contemporary. So I kind of, well, the book is set over about 3 weeks at the end of last summer.
Okay.
So it is really that current. And I wrote it over the 3 weeks when it's set. I just wrote the really just batshit mad first draft, and it was awful. But I just like wrote it literally as I was going through those weeks. And I just wanted to make sure then that I was remembering everything, knowing what the weather was that day, knowing how things felt that day, what was in the news. And it was kind of as we were going through a new government, a new Labour government, but at the same time, a populist party called Reform had pretty much crept up on the rails. They didn't effectively come second; they effectively came third. But they'd gone from being like the complete nobody's ever going to vote for them. They're just the madman that lives opposite that just barks at pigeons. That's who they were, and they suddenly became quite a credible political force. And it was a time when Britain then went into a bunch of riots that were kind of incited by populist politics, by politicians shortcutting things. And what had happened after Brexit, there was this really awful day that I remember after Brexit when I was just shopping and just went to our supermarket. The checkout woman was from, I'm going to say Poland. And the man in front, jovial, happy, white, red faced, was just saying, "Oh, when are you going back then?" And she just went, "I didn't, not planning on." And he was like, "Oh, don't look at me like that. I've got permission to say that now. I'm allowed to say it now." It's just like, so all the nasty stuff that had been hidden all that time finally came out. And I think it's been coming out ever since. And I think it kind of just bled over even more in the period that this book is set. And so I
Right.
just wanted to reflect that, and then where does it go from there?
Right. So I think before we can dive into the grief part of it, we should probably introduce the characters that have built their family so that we understand the grief that they're going through.
Yeah, because I've kind of made that sound a bit grim, but yeah, it's it's the three characters. We have Jake, who is a gay man. We have Vicky, a black trans lawyer woman, and we have Lucy, who is kind of my airhead heterosexual, because I figured I should have one. And I decided to include, she's the minority in this one. And it really is the three people. Jake loses his husband. I'm not kind of spoiling it that much. It kind of happens in the first page.
Okay.
Jake loses his husband right at the start of it in a motorway accident. And it's how these friends come in to help him. He meets Vicky at a silent retreat, and she becomes a really close friend and a really great supporter, just as he does to her. Lucy kind of has this mad wedding plot going on with a husband who turns out to be connected to the whole political plot. And she's kind of the comic relief chapter. There's only 6 chapters, but it's structured this way because what I wanted to do was make this a bit like a streaming TV series.
Okay.
So there's 6 fairly hefty chapters, like 15, 20,000 words each, kind of like a good hour's worth of a TV show. And each one's kind of structured so it has a start, middle, and end, and leaves you on a cliffhanger. But then you'll jump from Jake's story to Vicky's story to Lucy's story back to Jake. But each one's interconnected as well at the same time. But you see through a different person's eyes in each one of them.
And a
And so they're the 3
beautiful,
characters.
yeah, and a beautiful 6 series arc.
That was my point as well. There's an epilogue as well, which was just because I got to the end of the. So there you go.
It needs a little bow at the end.
Yeah, it's the bow. It's that little bit after it fades, just when you've got up to go and use the loo. It's just like, there's more.
Right. Yeah. The
So,
It
after
is the
credits
toilet
roll.
break. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the post-credit toilet roll. Yeah.
All right, right. There you go.
so you very cleverly also introduced how the grief comes into the story.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's not the only one, though, who's dealing with a dark emotion.
He's not, because you have Vicky, who's the black trans woman who's dealing with a lot of distance from her family, who've become quite estranged, but also a lot of upset at work. But what I've tried to make what's really important in the book is these people are gay, they're black, trans, even straight.
Hmm.
And it's not the driving force of their character, they just so happen to be. It's just Vicky suffers an awful lot of prejudice, not just because she's trans, but because she's a woman and because she's black. And it's just like she has three things going wrong for her. Jake just has the one. And it kind of like at the same time, you'll see Lucy kind of doesn't have so many bad things going on for her. Her troubles are really just more real world, her really small things. Like she doesn't like her Canadian mother-in-law, that sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's that whole thing that everybody's trying to deal with something quite different. And they all form a support network for each other as well, which is the main focus of the book.
Do they live near each other?
They're all in Birmingham. They're
Okay.
all in central Birmingham. That's why I say it is really a Birmingham book.
Love it. And I'm assuming Birmingham plays a role as a character as well.
It is, and that's quite important because I'm kind of like a bit of a vagabond, and I've lived in Lyon, I've lived in Amsterdam, I've lived in Brighton, London, Manchester, and now I'm back to where I was born and brought up, and then I moved away, but I'm back here now, and I think I'm going to stay. But I realized that I'd never really set a book in Birmingham. And also, I found there's an awful lot of my favorite books weren't set in Birmingham. And then I found a book by Dolly Alderton called, which was about stand-up comedy as well. And that was set in Birmingham. And it felt so odd to be reading about places that I knew about, buildings I knew, different parts of the city. And I just thought, there's no reason why I need to be setting my book in Soho or on a Cornish coast or as the last book partly in LA. It's I'm going to set this one in Birmingham because Husbands had a start in Birmingham and then it kind of all played out in LA, whereas this one but it starts in Birmingham, it stays in Birmingham.
Nice. Yeah, I will never forget as a teenager, most of the books I read were New York, LA, New York, LA. And then I read one about Chicago, which is a city I had been to and spent time in. I had an aunt living there at the time. And it's exactly what you're saying. For us to find a setting that we know that doesn't get highlighted, it's
Yeah,
magic. I mean, it's
yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also there's far less competition when it comes to making listicles and things like that. I'm usually at the top.
Nice. I love it. Well,
Marketing.
so it's to avoid spoilers, because especially an emotional story like this, sometimes you want people to dive in and experience it. So I'm going to ask my question this way. Is there anything about Rainbows and Lollipops that we didn't think to ask that you want readers to know?
I guess one of the real storylines that is just me getting my own back is there's a stand-up comedy thread running through it. Jake finds a way out of just feeling so locked out of the world by taking stand-up comedy classes. And the comedy teacher is based really quite closely on a comedy. I did stand-up comedy for a while,
Hmm.
and the comedy teacher is based on the woman that taught me all that I know.
I love that. That's beautiful. And what a
But there's an
tribute to
edge of
it.
revenge.
Okay,
She's
fair.
my favorite person, but she taught me well.
Love it. Well, are you ready for this year's Get to Know You questions?
I am.
Take it away, Bass.
Sounds like someone who's done their homework. All right. Can you name a movie that is better than the book?
I'm going to say The Devil Wears Prada. And this is
Huh?
no disrespect to Lauren Weisberger, because I think the whole thing when you have books that are converted to movies, like if you listen to an audiobook, it's 8, 9, 10 hours. Movie, 2 hours, 3 hours if you want to really make an Oscar list but bore people. And Lawrence Weisberger's book is brilliant and I love it, but the film just condensed everything, and I just thought the whole direction, the acting, love Meryl Streep anyway, but I'm kind of a little bit dubious that they're making The Devil Wears Prada 2, because
Yeah.
2 is never a great number to have after a title, because 3 normally works, 2 never.
Right.
Yeah, no, sophomore outings are
It's
usually the ones that
always
fail.
bad.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, which fictional character would you most like to be friends with?
Oh gosh. I'm going to pass on that one. I don't know. I don't know who. I got these questions and I was looking at them and I was thinking, which fictional character would I like to be friends with? And I couldn't
Well,
think
for
of
me,
it.
it's Anti.
And so, which one would you like to be, please?
Well, yeah, yeah, Anti-Mame,
I
Mame
can see.
Dennis. Yep,
Yeah, I
yep.
can see that. Yeah, totally got
That
it.
that's why she's our patron saint of our show. All right. What's the most fascinating fact that you know?
I'm gonna. Oh, I know two really, really useless facts that if I've had enough to drink, I kind of top them out at any party, and they're quite dull. One is that 6% of all road accidents in Sweden involve a moose. It always gets that response. And also that octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood. So that's one of the
Well,
wonders of marine
yeah, there you
biology.
go.
There
Okay.
you go.
Everyone take note. All right.
The moose
What's
moose never really flies. The octopus always.
All right. Well, what was your favorite subject in school?
French, because I think because I had a teacher that was really entertaining, and she kind of made it not a game, but she made it fun to be in her class, and for some reason I just found I could do it. I mean, I went on afterwards and did it as my degree, and I was just like, it's not quite so much fun now. And I think I only did that because it was a year in France. It was like, oh, year's holiday, and yeah, French, absolutely French. But it was the teacher that, I mean, it could have been German, but the German teacher had really bad breath.
I love that. All right. Well, before making a telephone call, do you rehearse what you're going to say?
No, and that tends to result in really long telephone calls where I just go completely off the subject, as you are seeing.
There goes my wandering down the garden path. Bye.
Yeah, I think I have many, many garden paths and many,
Right,
many garden.
right. Exactly. All right. Well, what current event or causes are you most passionate about?
I think probably advocating for mental health awareness, mental health support systems. I think it kind of like always in this country, I don't know if it's the same with you. It probably, you don't have an NHS, so you, yeah. Our health service, it's kind of like always lumped in as an add-on. It kind of like people are always like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people that are in need of mental health, but it's kind of almost made to be like, oh, it's just a thing, you just take a tablet, it goes away. And I just think we kind of need to recognize their importance in today's society, because we have a really mad world at the moment. And I think if you don't have mental health problems, you're probably incredibly lucky.
Well, I think it's also important because, I watch a number of British streamers, and one of the things they comment on the difference between America and there in Britain is how miserable the populace is in Britain.
We really are. We're really quite sad people. And you kind of see it when you go anywhere else. You just think, why are these people happy? This is no better than where we are. And you're just like, yeah, that is true. It is no better. Why are you so miserable? And I don't really know why we are so miserable. We just
Yeah,
are.
I think part of it is the weather. I think it's just, it brings everyone down. Nobody wants to be out. You get like what, 2 hours a year of sunshine. So,
It's very sunny today. I'm really going to spoil that for you now, aren't
well, that's your
I?
2 hours.
Today is the day.
We got to wrap
Yeah.
this up so you can get out there.
No, yeah, you probably are. And the weather doesn't help. I think probably, I don't know, maybe being an island, maybe we just like, maybe we don't like being an island. Maybe we just wish people would notice we're an island and that we're different. We're more special.
It's almost
Really
universal.
not.
Every single Brit that I follow,
So
they all say the same thing, that the
All
one thing they
incredibly
love
on.
about
Yeah,
America is Americans' enthusiasm and their ability to see the better
good.
of something. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
and it
something
is.
they wish they could have.
I have
Yeah, and there is that whole, oh, it's the land where anything can happen. And so is this, but we just don't believe it.
Yeah.
so I have a friend who moved from the US to near London and she's lived there for over 12 years now. And her theory is that the loss of empire and the concept of losing empire and therefore one's place in the world has actually added to that feeling.
Yeah, I don't think we have a sense of where we are in the world. I think Brexit was the whole, oh, we're leaving Europe and we're going back to those good old days. And you're like, what, cholera? Plague?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
What,
He
the
wasn't
Industrial
that good.
Revolution?
Yeah. Do you remember those days when women couldn't vote or have a bank account and men
Well,
still
that's
could red
Farage
flag?
is going there. Farage is going there. Give him time.
Yeah, yeah.
All
It's
right.
just like, no,
Well,
the good old days were bad.
yeah, right. Well, if you could visit anywhere in the world, where would that
Yeah.
be?
I'm going to say Japan. I'm going to say Kyoto
Oh,
in Japan, and I've kind of traveled a lot, and I've been to the Far East, but it was always in a work context, and that always kind of meant that my impression of any Asian country was kind of a hotel room, an air-conditioned bus, a really nice conference center, and then the airport. And I was just like, because I was always on these things where you'd just be flown out the day before, then you'd spend 2 or 3 days constantly talking in conference centers, then you'd go home. And so I never really got to see the places. And I've always wanted to go there. I just think it's got such a rich history, but also the serenity, the kind of,
yeah.
yeah, I kind of need to be away from people.
Well, mental health again.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Who, if anyone, was your first celebrity crush?
It was, and it still is Kate Bush. And I come back to Kate Bush's music all the time because I remember when I first bought her first album way back, The Kick Inside with Wuthering Heights, and you might now know her from Running Up That Hill. But like back on the first albums, when I was young at that age, like it was 1978, meant nothing really. I just thought, oh, they're nice songs. And I kind of revisit them, and each time you go back to them, you just think this girl's 18 when she wrote these, or 12 when she wrote some of the songs. And they're kind of what each time you revisit them, they take on a different angle. And her later material she's probably 5 years older than me. She's 65, 66, I'm going to say. So she's kind of now looking at life at a different angle. And I can't wait for her next album.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she's had the resurgence.
She has.
All right. Well, finally, what's your favorite personal recipe that you make, and are you willing to share?
I'm willing to share. I'm going to say a spaghetti cream chicken, which is kind of like you fry leeks, you fry shallots or scallions, you fry garlic, and then you throw in chicken and mushrooms. You throw in a spoonful of grain mustard. You throw in some creme fraiche. It's done.
Nice.
There you go.
Really quick. Oh, and a lot of black pepper and a lot of parsley.
Nice.
Okay. Love that too. Well, you made it through our list. Bravo.
Mhm. So I know Rainbows and Lollipops is fresh and new out in the world.
Yes.
Do you have any other planned bookings? Are you going to be at bookstores or Pride events? Do you have a place where people can meet you?
Next big thing I'm doing is 5th of July in King's Heath in Birmingham. It's part of I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it's part of a local Pride thing because it kind of gets announced at the last minute and it's kind of hush hush. So if I am saying it now, you'll just have to pretend I'm not. But it's on the 5th of July, 5 o'clock in the Heath bookstore. I'm also doing an interview for BRMB Radio next Saturday.
Nice.
The 12th of June, that will be. Is it the 12th or is it the 13th? Whatever next Saturday is. I'm going to say today's Friday, the 6th of June when we're recording this.
Yep. So yeah, the next
13th.
Friday,
No,
Friday's
12th.
the 13th. Next Friday's the 13th. So you're doing it on Saturday the 14th.
Saturday the 14th. Thank you for checking my diary. Yes. Really
That's
not
why he
very
does this. That's why I let him lead.
So where is the best place for people to catch up with you, but also get updates on appearances and future projects?
I dropped Twitter, X, whatever it's called. I just couldn't really be there.
Yeah, I know.
I use Blue Sky. Is kind of my preferred place to be. I post on Insta. I tried to be on TikTok, but I just can't do it. And
Can't be bothered.
It's just I'm just like it's too loud. It's too loud. It's too short. Why don't? Well, no, too bright.
Yeah.
And also, I'm just way too old to be on Twitter. On TikTok. And I'm way too left-wing to be on Twitter. So yeah, Instagram, Blue Sky, and I have my own website.
Perfect. And Instagram, you're author Mo Fanning. Blue Sky, you're mofanning.co.uk. And your website is mofanning.co.uk also.
It is, yeah.
Excellent. Do you have any final words of wisdom for folks?
I have very, very few words of wisdom for anybody. So,
Do you have any words of comedy for folks?
No, it's Friday. It's Friday here, and I've been
okay,
I've had a really weird day. I've been doing day work, and I did my first meeting this morning at 9 o'clock, then one at 10, 11, 12, half 1, 2, and 3.
Oof.
So I've got precisely no work done.
All right.
Wow.
Fair.
All right. Well, the only question I have is, being a comedian, have you ever watched Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
I love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I love that, and I really should watch it again because it kind of finished, didn't it, 2 years ago now, and it's one of those things that I thought I'm going to watch again, but I've just loved the new series of Hacks, the latest season of Hacks.
Excellent.
I kind of, how sometimes when it gets to the fourth season, shows are kind of like creaking a bit. I feel like this was the best season yet.
Excellent.
Love it. All right, folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Mo Fanning for coming back and sharing his new book with us. Mo, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. We at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. If you want to see more of that Mrs. Maisel thing, Baz and Albert are working their way through the series. It's kind of hilarious. Other than that, this show is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye-bye now.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.